Hello students, welcome to SRIRAM's IAS. This is a new series for you all for your upcoming prelims examination. Previous year question series. We will be discussing 10 questions every day for your benefit. और अब ये चीज़ तो जग जाहिर है कि PYQ कितना इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है आपकी UPSC प्रीलिम्स की प्रिपरेशन में. PYQ आपको ये बताता है कि UPSC किन टॉपिक्स से सवाल पूछता है. किसी भी सब्जेक्ट का कोर एरिया क्या है, विच इज द कोर एरिया ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मान लीजिए आप इंडियन पॉलिटी पढ़ रहे हैं. अब पॉलिटी में लेट्स से 15 to 20 क्वेश्चन कम्स एवरी टाइम. Every year in prelims examination you see 15 to 20 questions coming from prelims examination. Now when you study the trend of this examination, you see the previous year question. आप 2024 का पेपर देखते हैं, फिर 2023 का देखते हैं, 22 का देखते हैं, 23 का देखते हैं, और जैसे जैसे पीछे जाते हैं तो यू विल अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम विच टॉपिक यूपीएससी इज आस्किंग द मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस पॉलिटी के अंदर. तो आप देखेंगे कि जो फिलोसॉफिकल पार्ट होता है, प्रीएम्बल हुआ, फंडामेंटल राइट्स हुए, डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स हुए, फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज हुए, यहाँ से बहुत ज़्यादा सवाल आते हैं. तो ये कोर एरिया है. From 15 to 20 questions, the basics of the polity, the basics of the constitution, fundamental rights, directive principles, preamble, too many questions come from these. So this can be called as a core area of the subject. Similarly in history, similarly in other subjects such as economy and environment and whatnot. So PYQ helps you to pinpoint the core area so that you can magnify the number which you are getting. You can score the maximum marks, you can mark the correct questions, and you can focus during your preparation on topics which are more important than the other topics. Now polity has too many topics inside it on which you have to focus. What are those topics where the focus has to be maximum? PYQ is the guiding light which is going to tell you where you have to focus. First thing. Second thing, from all these areas, now you have understood from where UPSC is asking the questions. Now from all these areas, what kind of question UPSC is asking? Let's say fundamental right is one area from where maximum number of questions are asked. So what kind of questions are asking? Is it questions which are based on the numbering of the fundamental right? Let's say Article 21, what does it say? Or it is asking application based questions such as the entry in temples and dargahs to women are not allowed. So which of the fundamental right of women are abridged because of the bar on their entry into temples and dargahs? This is an application based question of fundamental right. So you will have a knowledge of the way, the manner in which the question is constructed by UPSC. So two important things. One, you will figure out the area within the subject from where UPSC is asking maximum number of questions. Second thing, you will understand what kind of question UPSC is asking. And that is the reason why we have brought this PYQ series, which will be very important for your preparation. So we are going to start this class with polity questions. And let us begin and see the question, what kind of questions. So the topics which we have chosen for this particular class will be the basics of Indian polity and constitution. So then we are going to pick up different topics such as fundamental right, questions coming from DPSP, from Parliament. So the first one is the basics of Indian polity and constitution. Let us go into the slide and discuss the first question. Okay. So this is the first question. Which of the following, and this is the question which was asked in 2023. Which of the following statements best reflects the chief purpose of the constitution of the country? Chief purpose of the constitution of the country. Now all the options which are given here in one or the other way reflects the purpose of the constitution. But they have asked the chief purpose, the most important purpose of the constitution. Let's go into the statements. It determines the objective for making necessary laws. Okay, Very good. It's a very good statement, but we have to go to the chief purpose. We have to see which one is the chief purpose. It enables the creation of political offices and a government. Government is made. There are provision in the constitution how election takes place. There's a provision in the constitution about electoral roll. There's a provision in the constitution about the bodies which gets involved in the election process, the election commission and other bodies. But is this the chief purpose? Let's see. It defines and limits the power of the government. Is this the chief purpose of the constitution? Okay, let's read the fourth one also. It secures social justice, social equality and social security. Now, this is how UPSC asks questions. All of them looks correct. But now we have to have knowledge about what constitution is and what is its chief purpose, and that we can only know if we understand the concept of constitutionalism. So the concept of constitutionalism, the basis of constitutionalism is rule of law. Rule of law, not rule of man. Simply, anybody in power, whether it is parliament, whether it is state legislative assembly, the executive, the people sitting in judiciary, no one has the power to take decision on their whims and fancies. Nobody can just arbitrarily make any decision. They have to act on the basis of some law. Now that basic law, the organic law of the land is constitution. So constitutionalism simply means limiting the power of the government, limiting the power of the state. Why the power of the state needs to be limited? Because state in a way, if you see, has unlimited power. And if its power is not limited, the liberty of individuals, the citizens, will go into drain. And that is the most important reason why constitution limits the power of the government. One organ of the government checks the power of the other organ of the government, and everything related with this, the checks and balances and everything is mentioned in the constitution. Constitution is that basic law, organic law of the land, the highest law of the land, on which all the other laws are based. And that is precisely the reason why constitutionalism is defined as limited government, where there is rule of law, not rule of man. And hence we are going to go with option number C. It defines and limits the power of government. This is the chief purpose of the constitution. Rest all are good points. They are also correct points, but they are not the chief purpose of the constitution. Now let us see the second question. And all other questions are related to the constitutionalism only. That is the reason why I have explained this concept here. Question 2. Constitutional government means, now you will be able to answer quickly, a representative government of a nation with a federal structure. There can be a unitary structure also, that can also be called as a constitutional government. So don't think this is correct. A government whose head enjoys nominal power. The head can also have real power. We can see this in the United States. The head of the government has real power. So this is not the option. A government whose head enjoys real power. So what? In India, the head of the state has nominal power, but still India has a constitutional government. So this is also not the option. The last one is a government limited by the terms of the constitution. So constitutionalism, limited government, rule of law, same concept is repeated. This is the question of 2021. Okay. So D becomes our answer. Let's see question number 3. A constitutional government by definition is, this is a question of 2020. Government by legislature. We are talking about constitutional government. Popular government is the one chosen by the people, can be called as democratic government. Okay. Multi-party government, good. This can be an option, popular government, multi-party government, but the option closest to the question is limited government. A constitutional government by definition is limited government. Why? Because of the same reason which we have discussed, because of the principle of constitutionalism, which is built on the principle of rule of law. Limited government. The government should not have arbitrary, excessive power. The government should always be limited by the provisions of the constitution, by some law. People sitting in government should not have arbitrary power. They should not have the power to take decisions on their whims and fancies. Rather, they should stick to some legal norm. They should stick to something which is written down and which is the law of the land, the organic law of the land, or the biggest, greatest law of the land. In this case, it is the Constitution of India. Fourth question, consider the following statement. A constitutional government is the one which, again the same concept applies, and this is a question of 2014. So you see, UPSC is repeating the same concept over years. So there is a possibility it may also come in the next year. That is the importance of solving PYQs, because you will understand from where UPSC is asking, and UPSC is asking repeatedly. Constitutionalism, the basic of Indian polity and constitution. This is very important for you to understand, and that is why in your preparation PYQ forms a very important part. A constitutional government is one which places effective restriction on individual liberty in the interest of state authority? No, I don't think so. Constitutional government is the opposite. Places effective restriction on the authority of state in the interest of individual liberty. More authority the state has, less liberty will people have. More and more liberty, if you want more and more liberty, of course liberty comes with reasonable restriction. No freedom is absolute, no right is absolute. They all come with reasonable restriction. And that is the reason why, if the authority of state in some or the other way is curtailed or becomes limited, the individual liberty flourishes. B is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature that indicates that it is a federal? It is federal in character. Okay. So federal features are there, unitary features are there. We have to find out which of these are the federal feature. This is a question of 2021. The independence of judiciary is safeguarded. We have an integrated judiciary in India. It's a unitary features, can't be an option. Union legislature has elected representative from constituent unit. Now this is going to be our answer. The reason is union legislature has Rajya Sabha, which is also called as the Council of States, and the constituent units, which simply means the states. The Council of State has representation from states, and that is the reason why India is also a federal polity. Although India is more a union than federation. In Article 1, it has been written that India is the union of state. India, that is Bharat, is the union of state. They have not used the word federation simply because the states have not came together under an agreement to form a union. In India, union was made first and then the state was created. And the central parliament, the parliament holds immense power in the creation of state, in the formation of state. The parliament can bifurcate a state, change the boundaries of a state, change the name of a state, and the advice of the state is not binding on the center. And that is the reason our polity is more tilted towards the union than towards the federation. So B is our option here. Coming to next question. Which of the following best defines the term state? Community of person permanently occupying a definite territory. So they are asking community of persons. Independent of external control and possessing organized government. Independent of external control, that simply means it also has sovereignty. Okay. Possessing organized government. Let's come to option 2. Politically organized people of definite territory and possessing authority to govern them, maintain law and order, protect their natural rights and safeguard means of sustenance. This is also a very good, nicely framed statement. So we have to choose one of these 4 statements. Then third one is the number of persons who have been living in a definite territory for a very long time. A definite territory for a very long time with their own culture, tradition and government. Fourth one is a society permanently living in the definite with a central authority, an executive responsible to the central authority and an independent judiciary. Now everything looks familiar, but what is the exact definition of state? That is something which we have to find. Politically organized people. Look at B. Politically organized people of definite territory, possessing an authority to govern them. Who is governing them? The state is governing them. Maintaining law and order and protecting the natural rights and safeguard the means of sustenance. So B becomes our answer, which is most closest to the definition of state. So B is our answer. Community of person permanently occupying a definite territory, independent of external control and possessing organized government. This is also important, but politically organized people, this is more appropriate than community of person, and hence B becomes our answer. Which of the following factor constitutes the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy? This is a question asked in 2021. Which of the following factors constitutes the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy? Committed judiciary. There can be a committed judiciary. Is judiciary the only thing which ensures liberty? Let's see other options. Centralization of power. If you do centralization of power, the government will become arbitrary. It will have too much power, which will be, it can go against liberty. Elected government. Now there can be elected government, but at the same time the government can be arbitrary. Okay. And the separation of power. I think separation of power is something which is the most important factor here when you are talking about liberty. Okay, why? Because if there is separation of power, the different organs of the state are independent to take their decisions, and there is a check and balances on each organ of the government by the other. The executive executes the law, parliament makes the law, and judiciary looks after both of them so that they do not take arbitrary decisions. Okay, so there is a check of balance and hence liberty is maintained. And that is the reason we will mark D as our option. Let's come to 8th question. A parliamentary system of government is one in which, what happens in a parliamentary form of government? You know that there is a Lok Sabha and then there is a Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha, the people inside it, the member of parliament are directly elected by the people. This is the permanent house, but every 5 years, the natural term is 5 years. Every 5 years, a next government is formed. That government, in the parliamentary form of government, whichever is the majority party forms the government. Then there is a Council of Minister, and then Council of Minister is combinedly responsible to the Lok Sabha. That is the basis of the parliamentary form of government in India. So let us read the options now. All political parties in the parliament are represented in the government. This is not true. The majority party makes the government, not all party. Government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. Okay, this looks like our option, but we are going to read two more. Government is elected by the people and can be removed by them. No. People just cannot come up and remove the government. That does not happen. That's not the system in India. The government is chosen by the parliament but cannot be removed by it before completion of a fixed term. This also doesn't like a proper option, but B is the proper option. The government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. Why? Because the government, the executive, the council of minister is directly responsible to the Lok Sabha, and in any way, shape or form, if Lok Sabha loses its majority, if Lok Sabha, if Council of Minister is unable to prove its majority, the majority party is unable to prove its majority, then the government falls. And hence that is the reason how it can be removed. So B becomes our option. Now come to question number 9. There is a parliamentary system of government in India because the Lok Sabha is elected directly by the people. Is that the reason why we have a parliamentary form of government? No. Parliament can amend the constitution. That's no reason why we should call it a parliamentary form of government. Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. It's a permanent house. That's another thing. Council of Minister is responsible to the Lok Sabha. We have understood the concept here only, that the Council of Minister are responsible to the Lok Sabha and can be removed by it. So D becomes our option. Now let us come to question number 10. In context of polity, which one of the following would you accept as most appropriate definition of liberty? Again, this is a question of 2019 and you can see how UPSC is repeating the themes one after the other. Okay, the question on liberty has been asked, question on federation has been asked, question on constitutionalism has been asked repeatedly by UPSC. So let us see, in context of polity, which one of the following would you accept as the most appropriate definition of liberty? Protection against the tyranny of political rulers. Is that what liberty is? Let's see. Absence of restraint. Restraint simply means limitations. But if there are no restraints, this liberty is going to be absolute, which is also not true. So which one of the following would you accept as the most appropriate definition? We have to find out the most appropriate one. Opportunity to do whatever one likes. This also is like taking arbitrary decisions in your life. Whatever one likes simply means that in order to enjoy one's right, you are curtailing or abridging or hurting other people's right. That is also not good. So there has to be some sort of restraint, some sort of reasonable restriction. The fourth option is opportunity to develop oneself fully. Now this looks as an appropriate definition of liberty. So I would go with D as an option. So 10 questions are completed. We are going to come every day to you at 4 o'clock live for all these PYQs, which are going to help you a lot in your prelims preparation. Thank you very much and join us tomorrow again at 4 o'clock. Have a nice day. Jai Hind.